Chairman of the full committee for 5 minutes.
To reduce emissions, do you have to reduce production, Mr. Benvenu?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
To reduce emissions, do you have to reduce production? I mean, you guys said Climate Action 100, you're all part of this group. You said your goal is to reduce carbon emissions, and you got this focus list, 170 companies that you're targeting to change how they do things. And you said of that 170, 1/4 of them are oil and gas companies. 42 are oil and gas companies. And what I want to know is, in order to reduce carbon emissions, do those 42 companies, oil and gas companies, on the target list, on the focus list, do they have to reduce production?
I don't think anybody knows how the climate transition is going to take place.
That's not what I ask you. Do they have to reduce production or not? They're in the business of making oil and gas, producing oil and gas. And I'm asking you, do they have to stop or lower, decrease oil and gas production?
As I say, I don't think anybody knows how the climate
Ms. Lamb, what do you think?
I think that the oil and gas industry is facing enormous headwinds because of global emissions going up so much. And so I think that those companies are challenged and are going to have to—
I didn't ask if they were challenged. I didn't ask about headwinds. I asked a simple question. Do you think they have to reduce production of oil and gas?
I think each company needs to take a look at their business model and figure out how
So you don't
they're
think
going
that they can increase production? You're okay with that?
I think that each oil and gas
If a company making their product wants to make more of the product, are you okay with that?
I think that the product of oil and gas companies is energy, and they can look and see how they can best produce energy for their customers.
So what do you mean? When you got 42 oil and gas companies on your focus list and you want to reduce carbon emissions, are oil and gas companies going to be allowed to encourage, engage, whatever term you want to use? Are they going to be able to make more oil and gas or less oil and gas? What do you think they should do?
Oil and gas companies can do whatever they want because—
Well, then why are they on your focus list? What are you trying to get them to do?
As investors that consider the financial
Ms.
risks—
Luber, will you answer the question, because the other two folks won't? Do you think oil and gas companies should be able to make more oil and gas, or do they have to make less?
They don't necessarily have to make less. Let me give you
So
an
do you guys all
example.
disagree with Mr. Khanna?
No.
I played Mr. Khanna's clip. Congressman Ro Khanna said to the CEO of Chevron, are you embarrassed? I'll read it. Are you embarrassed that as an American company, your production is going up? Should they be embarrassed because they're producing more? Should an oil and gas company be embarrassed because they're producing more oil and gas?
So oil and gas companies should limit their greenhouse gas emissions. That doesn't immediately mean they produce less. Oil and gas companies—
so it means later they produce less?
No, what it means is they
Are you disagreeing? Here's a question. Are you disagreeing with Mr. Congressman Khanna, or are you agreeing with him?
Please repeat what he said.
He said to the CEO of Chevron, are you embarrassed as an American company that you're producing, that your production's going up?
Yeah, I don't know.
Obviously wanting the production to go down.
Context. I do know
that's
that
the context. He went through all of them. All of them said, will you pledge to reduce production? I'm just asking you guys, as the guys who have 42 oil and gas companies on your target list, is it okay for oil and gas companies to actually increase oil and gas production?
If they could decrease their emissions in the process, I think they would be looked at differently. Regardless, so many of the oil and gas companies have decreased their methane emissions.
Anybody recently leave Climate Action 100? Any of your investment members, your member investors, anyone recently leave Climate Action 100?
About a dozen.
About a dozen? Can you name some of those companies?
Sure.
Small companies, big investors, small investors, who were they?
Some combination, but I would argue more, and there were some household names. I would also—
Some big ones, weren't there?
Yep, BlackRock.
BlackRock's pretty big.
Morgan.
JP Morgan, that's pretty big.
In all of those
Vanguard.
cases, Vanguard, they've said they're going to continue fighting for climate reduction.
Right? They're some of the biggest asset managers in the world. They all left your group. Why'd they leave?
Well, they all have different reasons. BlackRock has only
They all left at
partially.
sort of the same time. There must be something going on here.
They've heard a lot. They've got a lot of pressure from Congress and others that they should leave. BlackRock said to us, we're going to continue—
We're not pressuring anybody. We just want to know what you guys are up to. 42 oil and gas companies on your focus list, and you can't even tell me if you want production of oil and gas to go up or down for them.
No, what I have said was that some of them have increased production but reduced emissions. The greenhouse gas emissions that
Are you for ending the internal combustion engine in the next 10 years?
That is the direction that our government is going, and I think it's the direction that the automakers have
You agree with
determined
that?
makes sense.
Getting rid of the internal combustion engine in 10 years.
Yes.
Are you for reducing airline flight travel by 12%?
I don't know the numbers for airline flights.
Do you want it to go down?
Not necessarily, I don't think.
What about,
no,
okay, the last question is, what about hamburgers? Where do you stand on hamburgers? Is 1.5 a week enough, or do we get more? Chairman Massey wants to know. He's got some of the best grass-fed beef I've ever had.
People should have freedom of diet.
What's that?
I said people should have freedom of diet.
Oh, so you don't agree with that?
Well, in all cases, there are other ways to fix the challenges.
Newsflash, Ceres is okay with us eating more hamburger, Chairman.
Eat what you would
Newsflash,
like.
Ceres is okay with that.
Eat what you would like.
I yield back.
Thank you. I recognize the gentleman from California.
To enter into the record, this article stating that Biden is releasing more oil into the economy to lower gas prices for American consumers.
Without objection.
Mr. Benvenue, let me start out asking you a few yes/no questions. Do your investments include oil and gas companies?
Yes,
Is that one of your top sectors of investment?
it is.
Do you include these investments because they make sense and are consistent with your fiduciary duty to make sure I can retire of what you're managing?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you oppose restrictions on your investments or forced divestitures of any specific industries?
No, we do not.
Do you invest in a good cause?
I said I'm very proud of the work that I do. Yes, I invest in a very good cause.
Do you
And it's about
invest to take
generating
care of
returns.
pensions?
I invest to take care of pensions and generate returns to pay pensions.
Thank you. Mr. AG, let me talk to you a little bit about antitrust. You're the chief law enforcement officer in your state, is that correct?
That's right,
And you enforce antitrust law.
vigorously.
On this board, this one right here, we have the elements of a violation of a Section 1 Sherman Antitrust Act. First, an agreement between competitors. Number 2, restraint of trade or interference with markets. Number 3, harm to competition. Mr. AG, do you agree that these are the elements of a Section 1 antitrust violation?
Yes, I do.
One needs to prove all elements in order to there be a violation of the antitrust law, correct?
That's right.
And let me start by asking you, and then the other witnesses. First, Mr. AG, to your knowledge, did any of these parties make an agreement on how to invest?
Nope.
To the other witnesses, Arjuna, Ceres, and CalPERS, did any of you enter into an agreement with any other entity on how you would invest?
No.
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 So there was no agreement. Mr. A.G. Ellison, the next 2 questions for you, sir. As an antitrust expert, is there any evidence that any of the entity's actions are consistent or constitute restraint of trade or interference with the free market?
Not in any case I've seen.
So we have no restraint of trade. And sir, is there any evidence of harm or competition, specifically harm to competition to the oil and gas industry?
None has been presented to me, and I haven't seen any.
So Mr. A.G., to sum it up, we have no agreement, we have no restraint on trade, we have no harm to competition. Mr. Chairman, it seems clear to me that there is no antitrust problem here.
I would agree.
About another minute and a half? Yep. Questions for Ceres and CalPERS. Do you tell voluntary members of any of these organizations that you co-chair how to invest?
We do not.
Ms. Lamb?
No.
Do you tell any volunteer members to boycott any company or industry?
We do not.
Do you, ma'am?
No, we do not.
Do you share any information on pricing or any other confidential information with any of the voluntary members?
We do not.
No.
Do you take action against any voluntary members when they do not follow your advice?
No.